Chapter 5, we get into the wars. The War of 1812. What happened before the War of 1812? 7 Years War. What's a superpower? Yeah.
People have the better army.
Okay, so who's a superpower today? Yeah.
USA.
Europe? Europe is a continent. Yeah. Russia? They used to be, they're falling. So who's America? The United States is the biggest. China doesn't have the political clout right now, and they don't. They're getting there. They're very, very close, but I wouldn't say that they're. So, what were the French good at? What in Europe, the French had the biggest what? Yeah, army. They had the biggest army, and the English had the biggest what? Yeah? Navy. So they controlled the waters. The French controlled the land, which was convenient because Britain is surrounded by water. France is surrounded by land, on most part. So far, so good? Yeah. Okay, so where did the 7 Years' War start?
I remember Mongolia.
Yeah. The Ohio River Valley. Who fought in the Ohio River Valley? Yeah? George Washington fought for the British. Why did the British want the Ohio River Valley? They wanted to expand west. The Ohio River Valley were preventing that. Okay? Who had the Ohio River Valley? French. The French owned the Ohio River Valley. The Haudenosaunee and the First Nations lived there. Okay? There were not a lot of French that lived there. There were sports or forts spread out. Okay? On page 101, there's a very, very, very good map. So, the English invaded the Ohio River Valley. What happened? Art. Explain how. Explain what happened. Yeah.
The French have already gotten the tactics of the First Nations and they used that against the British who didn't really know.
Say it again.
The French already adapted the fighting techniques of the of the First Nations, and the British only had the European tactics of fighting.
Okay, so the French used the First Nations, and with that, or sorry, when they attacked the First Nations, the French got support. Correct. So when they got support, what did the English realize? Yeah. No. The English outnumbered the French. Yeah.
They had to get rid of the two strongest forts.
Why? As long as the French were in North America, the English would never be able to control like they wanted to control. They wanted to kill all the First Nations. They could if the French were there. As long as the French are there, they have competition, correct? Can they defeat the First Nations? Yeah. Can they defeat the French? It's a toss-up. Can they defeat both of them? No. It's pretty darn hard. Okay? So, where was the very first place that the English had to attack? Yes, the French. Where did they have to attack the French? Remember back to your card game. Yeah? Louisbourg. Louisbourg, because it was the biggest fortress on the East Coast, okay? It basically watched what? What main waterway? Yeah, St. Lawrence River. So the St. Lawrence River was protected from Louisbourg. What would have happened if ships came into Quebec, fired upon Quebec, won Quebec, and then they tried to bring in ships to back up Quebec?
Louisburg.
Toronto? What's that? Louisbourg would have destroyed all of those ships. All of the English ships would have been destroyed while they were trying to attack Quebec. So they had to get rid of Louisbourg first. When they got rid of Louisbourg, they went into Quebec. Can they scale the walls of Quebec and just attack it right away? What did they have to do? It starts with an S. Siege. Fantastic. You guys remember that one? The card game works. You get it. Okay? If you participated in the card game and you didn't get it in super late, I'm assuming it worked. Okay? Who fought where? How did they take Quebec? Besides you two. How did they take Fort Quebec? Or how did they lose Fort Quebec? Yeah? No, they did not siege. It's a great thought, though. They started by sieging it, but it didn't work. Because what would have happened if they continued to siege? Yeah? No, winter would have come. And then they would have frozen the ice, and then they're easy pickings. So, what happened at Quebec? Yeah. Okay. What was the big battle? No, there was a battle. Alex? Battle of the Plains of Abraham. You remember the people that were involved in it? Yeah? Okay. Help them out. Wolfe and Montcalm. Not Wolfie. Yeah? Okay. So, Battle of Plains of Abraham. Wolfe attacked. Did Montcalm have to attack again? Montcalm screwed up big time and lost Quebec. They then went on to take Montreal. Who else? Who was the First Nations person that was involved in the battle? Yeah, Pontiac. Did Pontiac give up when his French allies were done? No. What did he do? He kept on fighting. It's called Pontiac's War. Pontiac took a whole bunch of forts, defeated the English, and then it was time for fall so that they had to gather stocks and supplies for the winter. So all the First Nations left Pontiac. So Pontiac eventually lost. Okay? What happened to the king? No, the king was not killed.
Surrendered.
No, the king won. Yeah?
It's finally like, okay, well, we have to do something about this so that the fighting will stop.
Okay.
Treaty of Paris.
Treaty of Paris was between whom and whom? Oh, yeah. Treaty of Paris between English and French. Or French. So, England and France signed the Treaty of Paris. What did Pontiac get out of this?
Nothing.
Wrong. What did they get out of this? Colin? You're just waving your hand around like you just don't care? Go to page 118. What did the French get out of this? First Nations,
Wait, on what thing?
118.
Oh, what
Royal Proclamation, fantastic, Megan. Nice job. Now, there's a map that shows the guaranteed lands. What are your hands up for? There's no question. What's your answer? What are you talking about? Yes? What? Who's they? No. They got their own land. There's no question. What are your hands up for? There's no question. We've answered all the questions. It's like walking into math and going, 7! 7! You're wrong. Put your hands down. Put it down. Wrong. 7 is wrong. Okay. So, on page 118. On page 118, you can see the guaranteed lands. Why is the Royal Proclamation important for today? No. Yeah? No. No, not their language and culture. Did we take land from the First Nations? The Royal Proclamation states that we cannot take land from the First Nations. If you make a law that says we cannot take land from the First Nations, and then somebody else just takes land from there, it's illegal. So you go back to the original Royal Proclamation, which means that all these reserve treaties, the numbered treaties that we've talked about, that we've studied in our books, that are part of the 65 questions and that, those numbered treaties are illegal because of this Royal Proclamation. Okay? So as long as we're British, we cannot own First Nations land. See the importance of it? Okay. There are 3 things, 3 terms on page 117. Eviction. What's the best example of eviction? Starts with an A. Yeah? No. No. What's the best example of eviction? Yeah? A. Yeah? Acadia! Fantastic! The Acadians were evicted from Canada. The English had them. The Acadians were French, but not really. They said, look, we will not fight for the French. We will not fight for the English. We will stay neutral. And the English said, not good enough. You either say you're English or you get out. Yes? Fantastic. So, assimilation. What are the first 3 letters of that word? That's correct. Assimilation. When you're assimilating people, the first 3 letters is what you are. So, when you assimilate people, you say, I don't care about your culture. You need to speak English. You need to eat English food. You need to respect my holiday, my way of thinking, and my beliefs.
Are you recording that?
Nothing else. Now, accommodation. What are the first 3 letters? A. Which leads to the root of the word is acceptance. To accept. To accept. The red light stays on all the time. Now, accommodation is accepting them. What's the best example of accommodation? 117, 116. Yeah. Okay. And what's another example? Towards? Yes. Remember there's a treaty that guaranteed them their rights and their language rights. The Quebec Act of 1774. The best example at this point in your book, on page 118, sorry, 119. The best example of accommodation is the Quebec Act of 1774. Does that make sense? You guys know the difference between Royal Proclamation, the Acadians, and the Quebec Act? Who said no? What don't you understand? You don't understand everything? Acadians, we evicted. Assimilation means shut up, speak my language. Accommodation is the Quebec Act, when we recognize bilingualism. How many languages is bilingualism? Yes. 2! No, not more. Bilingualism means bi, which means 2. Monolingualism would be what? 1. Trilingualism would be 3. Okay? Etc., etc., etc. Are there any questions from chapter 5?